Our panelists, Dr. Mohamed, Dr. Siana, Arafa, Sainabou, for an excellent job in breaking down the sickle cell disease and genetic conditions in general. Doing, in our own small way, small capacity, So thank you so much for, blessing us with your time and with your knowledge. Nice. And that's another round, just in case we missed some. Say MSJ again.
And that hopefully will give you an understanding of what it is that we have inside ourselves as instructions, and that will make us. So I'd also be asking yourself is, why is it that sometimes we look alike? And this is because we share genes that influence our traits and health conditions. If we look at a 3-generation family, for example, when you have the mother, the grandmother, and the daughter, you realize that sometimes there are certain traits, physical traits, that are passed on, like maybe the hair type, or even the eye color, or the skin color. Sometimes you say, oh, this smile, look, she smiles completely like her mother, or even the blood group, or even the height. And so this is the reason why we start to really look alike within families, because in fact, genes are one of the reasons that are shared, which are shared from parents to offspring, and the reason why we've got similar characteristics and some health conditions within the same
disease. They have the abnormal hemoglobin, which we call hemoglobin S, and the key difference among key differences between the two hemoglobin molecules is that the hemoglobin S is not capable of performing its responsibility, its key responsibility of transporting oxygen thoroughly in the body, because its affinity is different. Its affinity to oxygen is different. So you see that because that fails, you see after the release of the oxygen, you have the sickled red blood cell. And again, from this, you start because when the red blood cells that we have are damaged, their lifespan is also shortened, and they're also, the body senses that these.
Would you briefly tell us your personal journey with sickle cell disease and how that inspired you to start the community of patients in Tanzania?
As I was introduced, I'm Arafa Salim Said, the founder of Sickle Cell Disease, and I was diagnosed with sickle cell when I was 8 months after birth. Growing up, I saw the misinformation, the misconceptions around sickle cell, and I really used the opportunity to say there's nothing for us without us. Like nobody can walk my shoes than myself. So from there on, I took the initiative of doing advocacy. Before starting the organization, I just was doing advocacy as a person myself living with sickle cell disease, until when the time reached and said, you know what, let's take it to another level and do proper advocacy through an organization.
What is one of the biggest misconceptions about sickle cell disease, in your opinion, that you think the society needs to address?
I think all this comes from is because we don't know how do you get sickle cell? Not many people understand how do a person get sickle cell, because if you look at the parents, both are very okay. Like they will tell you, I never got sick ever until I get my baby. And then now you're telling me my baby has sickle cell. How is that? Because we don't know how the disease can be inherited, how it passed down from parents to parent. So that is one big thing that is really hurting our people. Yeah.
Okay.
Understanding of people's beliefs and also cultural expectations. But then it's one of the main things. So just get people understand that this is something medical. It is not spiritual. So because most of the time when people think about spiritual conditions, they often associate it with no cure or just accept it as it is and not doing much to kind of manage what the person is going through. So bringing the understanding down to this is medical can actually lead a long way towards just getting people to be integrated into society, because most of the people would be isolated when they do have certain misconceptions around these conditions. But that's one. And the other painful misconception is, for example, if a child is born to, let's say the example that Arafa gave, being born to parents that are usually okay, a lot of stigma falls back on the mother as well. So trying to just get people to understand that, no, this is nobody's fault. It's not the fault of the parent. There should be no one blamed. It's not the fault of the patient. Let us try to come together to really understand how to manage what is happening and, if possible, prevent further cases from happening. And I think that brings me to my third point, which is some conditions are really thought mainly of conditions of the West. That it doesn't apply to us. It is not African. This is not something that used to happen to us. It is because it happens in the West. And I think with more information that we get to know and the more knowledge that we get to share, we are kind of bridging that gap. So that is also one of the reasons why at Huga, we established a World Human Genetics Day, and we did that on 30th of March, and we were also privileged to have Mohamed and Siana also speak on that. And what we tried to do there was to break down what is happening in the research field into understandable language for the public. So we invited high school students, we invited policymakers, clinicians, just to get to bridge that gap, just to let people understand that genetics is not something to fear, it's something to embrace, and it's something to try to move forward to, as well as make better decisions going forward.
Basically talked, it was a very brief conversation, but we basically talked about the social stigma which is surrounding child or anyone who's living with sickle cell disease. So basically someone with a sickle cell disease, what is the stigma and what is the sociological and psychological factors which are surrounding it. So we spoke about that, which was a very brief conversation, but we mostly talked about, where does the stigma really come from? And I don't think we had much conversation on that, but it was more around the lines of that, that these are the things that probably shows that there's less compassion towards people who are living with sickle cell disease. And I think there need to be more compassionate. People need to be, especially we need to teach our kids, because these things come from a very young age. So we need to teach our kids and, our nieces, nephews, our children to be more compassionate towards people who are living with sickle cell disease and any disease for that matter, or anyone who, is labeled as different or who's stigmatized as someone who's not normal. And that is what we were mostly talking about.
Thank you so much, Sabri.
Influenced so much by what we eat, but we also know that the microbiome, especially the gut microbiome that we have, also is associated with a lot of things, including metabolism of different things, including the drugs. So again, looking at nutrition is quite a broad thing. But just to say that paying attention to having balanced diet and a lot of water. And I'm also very passionate about traditional medicine research in the sense of identifying some of the plants that we have that are medicinal